Welcome to Hope Academy. My name is Mr. O, and today I'm going to be going over the ACT Practice Test 3 or the online exam 3 that's provided on the ACT website. The link is also provided below. I'm going to be specifically going over numbers 7 through 9. Usually I go over them real quick and then I take my time to explain how I was able to do the question. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So for number 7. Okay. I say n greater than a, c greater than a, b greater than c. Well, b greater than c, so that means c is greater than a. Okay, so it's that. Okay. No, that's not true. Maybe. No, so no. No, that's not gonna be. I can't assume that. Okay, so for number 7, my final answer for this question is going to be B. And now I'm going to explain to you how I was able to get to this answer. So for number 7, the important thing, at least for number 7, that I realized was that because there's a bunch of these inequalities, and I do want to write the terminology right here, inequalities, that do exist in this question, the key thing I need to make sure to do is that I need to make sure that these inequalities are sort of like lined up or, put together so that I could actually see what's greater than what, what's less than what, and so on. And so I first listed off what the question stated is n less than a. Well, c is greater than a, b is greater than c. And so because b is greater than c, I just started with that, b greater than c. I noticed that c is greater than a, so I just put c is greater than a. I noticed that a is greater than n, because I'm following along. So a is greater than n. And so this is going to be my sequence for number 7. Afterwards, I went through the choices. Well, the first choice stated that it's a less than n. I looked, well, a is greater than n, so a is not going to work. B, I see that b is minus n. It's greater than a minus n, which does logically make sense, but I just wanted to make sure that that is going to be a correct answer. So I went to C. It states that b is less than n. Well, we look right here. B is actually greater than n, and so C is not going to work. n plus b is going to equal to a plus c. Well, it could possibly be the case, but it's not guaranteed that that must be true. Because in the question 7, it says must be true. That's the key thing. And so D, we don't know for certain. It could be a possibility, but that's, not guaranteed. And so D, I took it out. The last one's going to be 2n is greater than a plus b. It could be a possibility once again. I don't know because of the scenario. It could be weird values and such and whatever not. So it might not be true. It could be true. And thus E is not going to work. Thus why for number 7, my final answer is going to be B. And now for me to continue on to number 8. So number 8 is going to be this question right here. I'm going to remove the paper. Now I'm going to go ahead and start. Distribution of Jamal's credits given the circle graph below. Okay, so A's 70%, it says B is going to be 20%, C is 10%. Just writing it bigger so we can see it better. Jamal's grade if A is 4, B is 3, C 2. Okay. Okay. 0.2 times 3, which is 0.6. And 0.1 times 2. Okay, 0.2. So 3.4, 3.6. Okay. So for number 8, my final answer is going to be H, 3.6 GPA that this individual has, Jamal. When we are doing this type of question, the important thing is to first be able to understand what the circle graph is providing. And this is sort of a statistics question, but this is just practice on you around understanding circle graphs. And the circle graph told me these key informations. I read that A is 70%, B is 20%, and C is 10%. And so after that, I noticed that they tell me that each of the score weights, which is very similar to the current US system, is that A's are going to be 4, B's are going to be 3, C's are going to be 2. And so I simply did was converted these to decimal values. So this value, for example, this 70% is going to be same value as 0.7, or 20% is going to be same as 0.2, and 10% is going to be 0.1. And then afterwards, I multiplied them by their weight values. So 0.7 times 4, because these are A's, 0.2 times 3, and then 0.1 times 2. So 2.8, 0.6, 0.2 are the values, and I added them up, which ends up becoming 3.6, which will be H for number 8. And that concludes my explanation for number 8. To continue on to the very last question for today. So for number 9, what's the difference between 1.8 and 1.080? Okay, I see. Okay, this one I'm going to use a scientific calculator, which is allowed on the exam. 080808. Let's just try that. See if there's a repetition. 1919. Oh, it rounds off. Okay. So it's going to be 19. So for number 9, my final answer is going to be C. And this is how I was able to do the question. So this question does provide an extra tip or thing that's useful to know. It states that a bar indicates that digit is repeated. So basically, we're doing 1.8. What's the difference between 1.8 and 1.08080808? Since the question actually states 1.8, just to write it bigger, and 1.08 like this with a bar, and so it repeats. And so rather than actually trying to solve it out exactly, what I just did was simply on the scientific calculator typed 1.8 minus 1.080808 just to be safe. It gave me the 0.719192 because it starts rounding off after a certain point. And thus I know that means that 19 is going to be the repetition that we're going to see. And thus why for this question, my final answer is going to be C for this question. So it's 0.719 with a bar over the 19. And that concludes my explanation for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook and Twitter so that we could continue to make content like this. Please do feel free to leave a comment below if there's any specific concepts or things you want me to cover. It doesn't have to be pertinent to math at all, but I would like to hear from you guys. So I'll see you next time.